Sequel number 29 of the Church of Uganda at 150, a celebration of our history. The producer is Christopher Amos Chikomekontambi, and I welcome you to today's sequel, where we are going to look at Bishop Tucker's second pastoral visit to Buganda and Uganda. And then also, for the first time, we are going to see how the British government becomes very interested in this particular region. Welcome, and now I produce the 29th sequel. Sir Gerard Portal, the British Consul General at Zanzibar, made a visit to Buganda on the request of the British government. He arrived in February of 1893 to prepare the country from the hands of the Imperial British Company into the hands of the British government. There was a preparation required. Indeed, on the 1st of April 1893, the British flag, instead of the British Imperial Company flag, but the British flag went up the mast for the first time at Fort Lugard. I'm not saying that this is when it became a protectorate. No, it had not yet become a British protectorate, but the visit of the Consul General symbolically putting a British flag changed a lot of things from those who knew better. Now, the Church Missionary Society Bishop Tucker was around during his pastoral visit, the second, and he was able to meet Bishop Huth from Kavirondo, the Roman Catholic bishop, and they had an ecumenical summit with Sir Gerard Portal, and this happened on the 7th of April 1893. So Sir Gerard Portal stayed for some good time in Buganda. He arrived in February, and by April he was still around. Now, Bishop Huth wanted the allocation of the Roman Catholic settlements to be increased. For example, could they be allowed to settle in Singo as well? However, the Anglicans and the government of Buganda refused. They said that no. However, the bishop won when it came for Sese. Sese was acceptable for sharing. So the Roman Catholic could also settle in Sese. Sese Island would be shared. Now, a settlement on these issues was agreed and was signed for. Yeah, this business of settling people in particular was signed for again, this time in the presence of a British government representative, not an imperial company, not just missionaries, not just Buganda government, but the British government itself. Now, they also, in this agreement, and I think now let me mention the date, the 19th of April 1893, agreement or settlement also confirmed the recognition of 2 katikiros for Buganda. And the British were the ones enforcing it. Buganda was to have 2 katikiros, Apollo Kagwa and Stanley Mugwanya, each one to cater for the interests of the Christian faction that he belonged to. Now, Sir General Portal left on the 30th of May 1893 after spending closely to slightly more than 3 months in Buganda. And as a matter of fact, he was leaving because he had lost his brother. His brother Raymond had died during the visit. He came with his brother Raymond to Buganda, and Raymond died. And Raymond was buried at Namirembe. So that Namirembe of ours has seen so many categories of people buried there. So Raymond is buried in what was then called the God's Acre. I don't know whether that is the name of the graveyard of the cathedral today, but at that time it was known as God's Acre, because actually it was not even a cathedral by that time. So Gerard Portal then also, after reaching Mombasa, Zanzibar, took a ship and returned to England, where he also unfortunately died from typhoid. He died in January 1894. But anyway, let's return to our situation here in Buganda. Bishop Tucker was still on his pastoral visit. And on the 3rd of February 1893, he confirmed 75 candidates at the Namirembe Mission Church. I insist, not cathedral, Mission Church. On the 13th of February 1893, the bishop with Reverend Baskerville and Reverend Crabtree went to Chagwe, and the county chief, Evangelist Nicodemo Sebwato, welcomed them and accepted that they set up the first mission there. So the first mission station was set up there. The bishop left the missionaries at Ziba and returned to Namirembe. He then engaged women, especially wives of church council members, to have literacy and numeracy classes assigned to them. The bishop then allowed them to engage in teaching younger women and girls. Therefore, it was as early as 1893 that the bishop or the church found it necessary that a woman needed to be literate, needed to be empowered for ministry. And therefore, we should thank the bishop for being the pioneer. On the 20th of April, 1893, Pilkington, a missionary, Fisher, a missionary, and Gunther, a missionary, they had come. These last two had come with Tucker the second time, while Pilkington came the first time. They went to Mityana and they established a mission station. Bishop Tucker traveled there and officially opened it on the 12th of May, 1893. Therefore, Mityana has a mission station by 1893, and Bishop Tucker himself personally was there. And there is proof. Remember, Bishop Tucker was an artist. He was a landscape artist. So he saw Lake Wamala some 4 miles away, but very visible. And the bishop sat down and began to draw the scenery of the lake from that far. On the 16th of May, the bishop and Pilkington returned to Namirembe, leaving the other 2 missionaries to run the new station of Mityana. Then on Trinity Sunday, the 28th of May, 1893, news at Namirembe Mission Church of the first ordinations of Africans, of natives in Uganda. But it was not the only ones they were not the only ones who were ordained that day. It was ordination day Sunday, and the following were also ordained full priests. Reverend Roscoe, he was a deacon, he became a full priest. Reverend Crabtree was a deacon, he became a full priest. Reverend Miller was a deacon, he became a full priest. Reverend Hardbard was a deacon, he also became a full priest. Now, those were missionaries Bazungu. But us, Africa here, celebrated as Buganda, the very first deacons, native deacons. The Reverend Deacon Henry Wright Duta, unfortunately no neckhood. The Reverend Deacon Yairo Mutachala, unfortunately no neckhood. Reverend Deacon Yokana Mwira, unfortunately no neckhood. Reverend Deacon Yonasani Kaizi, unfortunately no neckhood. Then these 2 were given deacon orders, but for them, theirs was to be a perpetual deaconate, where you remain a deacon forever. There is no chance of you ever becoming a priest. And these 2 were therefore given their deacon orders. 1, deacon order Nicodemo Sebwato. 2, deacon order Zakaria Kizito Kisingiri. Correction here, never call them reverend deacons. For them, theirs was a perpetual diaconate. Perpetual deacons. They will be deacons forever. They will never transit to a priest. Nicodemo Sebwato and Zakaria Kizito Kisingiri. Remember, these were already county chiefs, so they sat on the cabinet of the kingdom. Yeah, I told you earlier that county chiefs of that time were as good as members of the cabinet. So that was the celebrated first ordination of priests in Uganda, missionaries, and then of course natives who became deacons. and perpetual deacons. Bishop Tucker pastoral visit to Buganda therefore ended in June 1893, and he had to return to his cathedral in Frere town. But this time, he decided to use the Tanganyika route, accompanied by Dr. Baxter and missionary Hubbard. Why? Because they had to do missionary work or pastoral work. Tanzania was also part of the Equatorial Diocese. So that's where they passed this time. And they left NASA Mission Station. NASA Mission Station is what succeeded Usambiro. So northern Tanzania, that part of Kagera region, there was a very big mission station for Christian Missionary Society called NASA. The return journey then resumed on the 21st of June 1893 and all the way to Mpwapwa, where the bishop confirmed 33 candidates. Then they continued and they reached Sadini or Sadani at the coast, very near Bagamoyo, the former slave trade market center, on the 4th of August. They found a big caravan heading for Buganda. This one was now headed by Mika Sembatimba, the Makamba. And he had Bazungus as well, Bazungu missionaries, all heading to Buganda. The Reverend Walker, the Reverend Gordon, and the new missionaries Sagden, Rowling, and Fletcher. Tomorrow, we shall see what next as far as Buganda was concerned. What was brewing? We shall see more tomorrow in our 30th sequel. May the good Lord bless us all.